Before we continue, I want to talk about spruing and the positioning of sprues. Rings are pretty simple for the most part, but as you can see, this dragon here is a pretty complicated design. What you need to remember is that the molten metal, when in the casting machine, will go in one direction only. It cannot turn corners and come back. So in this one here, they factored it in by having branches which allow the metal to flow evenly to all aspects or all places of the mold. Now, this end here is where the sprue or the wax is injected into the mold. And I would probably suggest that before casting, it's going to be cut off here and here so that the mold sprue will begin down in this corner. And as you can see, the three sprues that branch off here will allow metal to flow to all corners of the dragon. If we only had one here, what you'll notice is the metal will flow in, but it can't come back and turn the corner. That's what metal doesn't do. It only goes in one direction. It doesn't flow in and then come back. Before you begin spruing your projects, you should ensure that all the imperfections have been removed with wax solvent. Make sure they're the correct size. And once you've determined that you're ready to begin this step, you can proceed. I'll take my heat tool, and the first thing I'm going to do in the process of joining this is I'm going to take my sprue wax and gently heat it till a little bit of it melts, and I'm quickly going to attach it to my piece, and hopefully it will stay in place. Now, what I need to do now is I need to go around the edge and attach it firmly to make sure that it's nice and even. So at this time I'm going to get a bit of sticky wax. So here we go. My sprue's a little crooked here, but I want to attach it. So first thing I'm going to do is carefully melt around. Now, I don't want to melt my project. That's what I'm trying to avoid. So I'm trying to add wax and blend it together. And it looks like I've done a pretty good job of that. And as you can see in the close-up here, it's fairly clean around the full area of the sprue. And here's the other side. And here are the two rings that I'm going to invest today. One has a sprue attached, and the other one has the sprue that came out of the jewelry mold. We're going to use that. Now, the next step of this, and the final step of the spruing process, is I need to get a casting sheet, and I also need to get a weight. Here's what the casting sheet looks like. And this needs to be filled in correctly, and this is going to help. This is going to help track your invested flask throughout the processing stages. In my office, I have a scale which allows us to measure the weight of the rings, and I'm going to do that now. The weight of the rings is usually in grams, and this one weighs 0.9. If I add that one on there, oh, that one's 0.9 also. So both rings are 1.8. Okay. 1.8 grams. I need to remember that number. So you'll give me your rings, I will weigh them, tell you a number, and you write it down on the casting sheet and then fill in the rest of the information. So as you can see here, I've written down the number, which is 1.8 grams on the casting sheet. I've got my name at the top. I've got the block. The next thing I need to do is calculate the cost of the material, and I'll do this in the next column here. So the amount that you have to pay for your two projects is $15.75, and that's payable to me, to the teacher, and you should do that before the casting process takes place. Now you need to continue, read the instructions here, follow them, and write the information in the circle. What that is, this circle is, it represents the top of the flask, and that's what the same information will be transferred to that. Here's an example of a flask that's engraved. Only use pencil on the top of this, by the way. This has the name of the person whose projects are inside, the total amount of the weight written on the top, and the block. So on this, I'm going to continue and write that on here. So basso, the total weight is 21 grams. And the block is D. Now this allows us to track these things throughout. Now you've finished the spruing step. That's step number 2 completed. The next step is a real important step. It's the making of the mold. Step number 3 is called investing.